Hey guitar teachers, welcome back. So this is my first special topics video. Special topics in my mind is just things that I think are important to discuss and get out there in the world, but don't necessarily fit in my other videos. The subject, of course, as you are aware of because you clicked on the link, is my plea to you to stop teaching chords to children. Obviously, as guitar players, we know that chords are very important. In fact, if you took all of the music featuring a guitar from the beginning of time until now and tallied up the number of songs that have just chords in them versus chords and some kind of melody, big weight advantage over here. Going all the way back to continuo playing and ground bass, that we had in, the Renaissance and Baroque periods and stuff like that. Chords have always been a staple, and as a chording instrument, it's what we're expected to do a lot of the time. That being said, I still firmly believe that teaching them to children is a terrible idea. Before we continue, if you like this video, make sure to press the button that indicates that you do and subscribe. So getting into this, we have to define what we're talking about. So children, when I say children, I'm thinking kids that are maybe kindergarten to 4th grade, maybe 3rd. I don't know, for some reason in my mind there's that break. So children are up to maybe, 3rd, 4th grade, and then kids go up through, basically until you're a teenager, and then you're a teenager. And there are a few reasons why this is a terrible idea. So first, let's go into the more mechanical aspect of it. So pulling out this cute little Cordoba Mini. If we just make your run-of-the-mill C chord, of course, you and I have been playing C chords for forever, and we can play a C chord all day. Children that young do not have the development and fine motor skills to really pull this off. To the point that it's not really a matter of if they practice it or they don't. Like, they physically do not possess the capability to do these sort of complex movements. And if you think about it, it really is a complex movement. So much can go wrong just with this chord. With our ring finger, we can not press down hard enough, or we can lean too far back so we're accidentally touching the string under it. Ditto for this finger, ditto for this finger, and we have to make this shape and have it spaced out, and we can't be too close to the end of the fret, and we can't be too close to the back of the fret, and there's just so many things that can go wrong, So giving them this sort of task and, holding them accountable for being able to accomplish it when they're physically not able to, through no fault of their own. Like I said, practicing has really nothing to do with it. They're going to feel like guitar is something that they're just not very good at. One of the most important things in teaching is setting your kids up for success. And if you're giving them tasks that they physiologically are not able to complete, they're going to, of course, blame themselves. And extrapolate on that a little bit, if the parent gets involved, that's just a whole other nightmare. They try to force the kid to practice because they can't get this chord down. And it's a headache that you don't want. Of course, there are very logical ways around this, right? So we don't have to play this whole C chord all the time. We could just play these top 3 notes. Just G, C, E. Are kids capable of doing that? Absolutely. It may come out like this, or it may come out like this, or it may come out like this, but it'll do the job. Generally, if you're looking at method books for steel string acoustic or electric guitar, the Hal Leonard method, the Mel Bay method, the FGAH, I think, even uses these. That's usually how they introduce them, and to an extent they were wise in doing so. However, that kind of brings us to the cognitive developmental issue with this, which is that kids do not hear harmony the same way that you and I do. When I was getting my master's in education, one of the things that kept showing up again and again was this study about how kids perceive music. And in it, they found that your most wee ones hear a melody. That's all they hear. They hear a melody. As they start to progress, they hear the melody and they can hear, kind of something going on underneath it. They may not fully recognize it as melody and harmony, but they acknowledge at least that there are 2 parts. And then that expands and expands and expands, and eventually you get to where your brain can pay attention to things like polyphony. So with that in mind, you can see how it's pretty objectively pointless to teach children chords. I mean, forget about playing it, forget about all the things their fingers have to do. They don't even hear the chords in the songs they listen to. I mean, put yourself in their shoes. They go home and let's say they try to practice and they're playing these chords and they're trying to play along to a recording or something like that. And, it kind of sounds good, but it's not the song. They don't feel like they're playing the song because the song to them is the melody. One could, of course, argue that if they are singing as well, then they're getting that melody, so they have the harmony and the melody, and that's kind of helping them put it together. I don't know if you've ever taught singing before, but at that age, and really a lot of years past that, pitch matching. They need to play the melody, they need to sing along to the melody. So then what do you do when a kid brings you a song and says, I want to play this? You know, I live in Kansas, so let's say it's a John Denver song or something. Let's say they bring you a John Denver song and they can't hear that there are chords in the song yet, but you don't want to tell them no because they brought you this and they said, hey, I really like this, I want to play it. What can I do? Well, the first thing I would do is get them started on that melody. That's the thing that's going to make them feel like they can play the song. After that, if you want to get them started on something, you know, something that they can play along to the recording, and they will acknowledge that it sounds good, even if they don't acknowledge that it will sound like this song, is just playing the root notes to the chords. So say the song has, you know, G, C, and D, they can play a low G, they can play a low C, they can play an open D. And playing those, let's say, as whole notes, just when the chords change, will accomplish that for them. They'll be able to play along with it. It will sound good even if it doesn't, to their ears, sound like the song, which will hopefully keep their interest long enough that you can sneak the melody in there. As your kids get older, don't worry. They'll start to hear chords, and you can give them to them at that point, and they will mean so much more to them, and they will be so much more likely to practice them, and they will be able to play along to songs and feel like they're playing the song and have a great degree of success, and everything will just come together beautifully. And when that happens, I guess I shouldn't really go into my whole chord sequence, but I will talk about it one day. Thank you for watching. Once again, if you like this video, please press the button that indicates that you do, and subscribe, and leave a comment if you have something to say. May all of your students be perfectly practiced this week, and I will see you next time.